So since filming Dragmas episode 7, I did go on a little bit of a vacation to Shoppers Drug Mart to get self-tanner, but my brain obviously doesn't notice the difference because the dopamine hit I get from tan skin, girl. I'm so ready. Hello, babies, and welcome back to Dragmas Day 8. I'm your host, David Day, the Draggy Christmas countdown all the way to Christmas. And you know I'm ready. I got a haircut because I'm the luscious woman I deserve to be, and I have my... it's just like when everything becomes a reference and then the source material is completely gone and you don't even know what you're talking about anymore. And it really makes sense to only you because you have your collection of quirky bits with everybody else that you know, but you amalgamate them into a specific language of comedy that really only works for yourself and to others looks like psychosis. The fuck? Anyway, I am gonna open this Red Bull without messing up my nails, or I'll just mess up my nails. Okay, Dragmas Day 8 starts. Ow. Oh, the slow hiss. That is so anticlimactic. Just a minute. I got it now. I'm wedged underneath, but I don't think you could see, sicko. Dragmas Day 8 starts now. So today we are going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? As I was getting ready today, I wasn't sure what I wanted to talk about. And like yesterday on Dragmas, I was Joe Exotic, you know, tiger themed. It was very specific. And we've talked about a lot of things here on Dragmas. We had the tiger on day 7. There's a hair in my mouth. We had Michelle on day 6. We talked mental health on day 5. I think I gave you a personal commercial on day 4. Day 3, who knows? That was so long ago now. But I woke up first thing in the morning. No, I gotta get the glue out. We have things to do today. When I woke up this morning, the first thing that I did was start scrolling TikTok because, you know. But anyway, as I was scrolling through TikTok in the morning, I came across this video and it's 4 minutes and 10 seconds long and I watched the whole thing and that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. You know, people don't have those attention spans anymore. Not in 2024. But I watched the whole thing and it was super interesting. So I think this is the first glue stick that I've completely used at Dragmas. That's cool. Yeah, we're at the stump, which is great because I do have a set of new ones. But I don't want to use them until I've used these crusty ones up. And you know I'm a professional, so I can make anything work. Okay, that's the first one. I forget what episode that happened last year, but I remember that moment. Okay, she's gone. But yes, okay, so the video is by Justin Schumann. Justin Schumann Official on TikTok. I want to take a look at this video because these are the things that I want to talk about today. I'm not even gonna give any preamble here. You saw the title of this video. This is what we're talking about. Let's watch the first little bit.
Here is a take on social media that you have never heard before, unless, of course, you follow me already, in which case you've definitely heard it before because this is the shit that I've been screaming for the last 3 years. I want you to think about something. Being yourself, right? What the fuck does that really mean? Well, I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert. The way that you be in your life, out in the world, is really just a system of habits. Habits that you started forming when you were young. And when you were young, you probably also went through some bullshit, some trauma, some nonsense. At one point, you were either probably told you were too much or not enough. And you got really good very early on at changing into whatever you thought you needed to be to make the people around you happy. But eventually, once you start putting all those things in a box to hide them from people because, God forbid, they see the real you, those changes stick and they start to become habit.
Okay, so we're gonna pause it right there. Holy. I'm not quite sure where I want to begin with this, but I find this entire conversation, what is it really that I'm trying to get to? It's like identity creation and the way that we form ourselves and share ourselves with the outer world. And I've been increasingly aware of how I construct my identity and how I share it with other people through my time being a content creator, because it hasn't been that long. And while I've always been somebody who is creative and doing all this gay stuff, you know, this is very different. This is very different. And in order for me to build a vision of what I want to share with the world, I need to know who I am first in order to do that, right? If you have something to share, you need to know who you are before you can share it with others. And not always, of course, but I think it becomes a lot easier, or maybe it resonates more with your audience if people can understand your point of view and where you're coming from. And if you don't know who you are, you don't know your point of view. It's interesting because Justin is talking about this. The next part is that he's going to talk about adults, because I think kids are really good at knowing who they are, for the most part, generally when compared to adults. I've worked with kids lots, and probably the main reason of why I enjoy working with kids is that they're just weird, but weird in a respectful way. They're quirky and they do things that show their personality. But there is a time, and it happens in my experience around that end of grade 4, beginning of grade 5 mark, where they start to think about the way that other people are thinking about them. And you can tell there's a self-consciousness that emerges, especially in that time, in my experience, both as an educator and as a student. I was like my weird whatever self. Well, no, I didn't last that long. I think it was probably around grade 3 when that started to happen for me. But then you become embarrassed, and then you want to hide things, and you want to mold yourself to the expectations of others. And those expectations aren't always explicitly laid out in some big negative systemic way. And I don't know, maybe that's even worse. You're gonna have whiplash from the difference in these episodes, bestie. Yesterday I was singing and dancing in a tiger fit, and today we're talking about this. I do have to say though, because if you're watching this and you don't know me, and you're just watching some random drag queen, do whatever the hell on a series called Dragmas, that's so cool. Hi, I see you. That's awesome. You're probably, and I love that. That's a big part of where my perspective comes on things like this. I don't think I was explicitly told by adults, perhaps, that being gay and being feminine was wrong. There was a lot of implications, let's say, that was not something that was socially acceptable. I remember it was around Christmas time, and I was maybe like 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there, maybe even preteens, doesn't matter. I was young, and I was at a festive party, and there were things to be won, and I won. It was like a bath set, it was the early 2000s, so the bath beads, those, oh man, loved playing with those. Anything sensory. And bath salts, not that kind, eat your face off. And bubble bath is what I was trying to get to, but then we went to bath salts, and I remember winning it. And I was super jazzed for it, Mary. Like, who doesn't love a bath? And there was this older man that walked by me as I was like just getting back to my table and like looking at the basket, and probably had a little twinkle in my eye. And the man said, "Well, what are you going to do with that?" And I didn't have any self-awareness at that point because I was so young. Something as simple as bathing could be seen as feminine, and that wasn't acceptable to me because I was a boy. And I remember looking up at him and going, "I'm going to take a bath." Probably deadpan, no expression of, yeah, it's a bath set. You take baths with bubble bath. In a bath, do you know? So it's through little repeated experiences like that we learn what is socially acceptable and what is not. And over time, you continue to reinforce those things until they become habits of just not sharing your authentic self with the people that are around you. And eventually, you lose those pieces. You can only repress something for so long until it disappears. And maybe that's what you want, and that's fine, right? That's habit formation, and you can make those active changes to change parts of yourself that are changeable ethically. If you want to do that, you can, and that's great. You should have the autonomy to do so. But it's where the motivation comes from. Are you motivated to change who you are for yourself? Or is it coming from outside forces? Because that man walking behind me going, "What are you gonna do with that?" definitely reinforced for me that, that's interesting, because it didn't reinforce, whoa, okay. If I was on a Christian podcast right now, I would go, "I'm having revelations." Because when that man said, "What are you gonna do with that?" it didn't reinforce in my mind that I wasn't allowed to have baths as a boy. I knew that was fine. But it did reinforce the fact that I needed to pay attention to who I was saying that to, or rather, don't say that around anybody. And maybe that was just my little combative young brain wanting to still do what I wanted to do, but I wanted to keep myself safe. Because I think it also could be really possible that I wouldn't want to take baths anymore. But I never wanted to change my behavior that was being judged. I just wanted to not share any of that behavior so I couldn't be judged. Which I guess is something that I'm proud of, because I knew what I was doing was fine, but I was also scared of judgment. So if you do that over an amount of time, it changes who you are, and that really bites if you don't want to lose who you are. And you shouldn't want to lose who you are, but sometimes those societal forces are super powerful, and it convinces people that they don't want to be who they are. And it's within your right to do that, and that's really sad. But maybe it's not for you, right? Maybe it's something you don't want to change, and that's great. Okay, so I just primered up my glued brows, and as you can see, I did not do the glowy one from yesterday. Okay, so I'm gonna let those dry for a moment, and we're gonna go back to this video and watch the next minute.
You are an adult, and you're being yourself, or so you think, in your real life, and you might even identify as a people pleaser, and you're that. You know, you can at least describe that label to yourself. Perhaps you're not even realizing yet, you don't even realize yet, like, oh gosh, the fact that I prioritize everybody's needs before my own, and I'm terrified of being abandoned or disappointing others, or I'm always going to make sure the needs of others are met before my own. Yeah, that's called people pleasing, sweet babe. And then you come on TikTok, and maybe you're just scrolling, or maybe you've tried to make a video before and it's just felt god awful, or maybe you make a lot of videos, and maybe you're actually pretty prominent on this platform. I don't know who's watching this video, but whoever you are, it's been hard. It's been awkward. It doesn't make really a lot of sense to you why when you hit the big red button, you feel like you have never spoken the English language before. What's missing in the equation that's out there and the equation that's in here? People, right? I know you're afraid that people are going to see your posts and they're going to say mean shit, or you're afraid that no one's going to see your posts and no one's going to say anything, because that would affirm and confirm your worst fear that you don't matter and that nobody cares.
Yeah, we're gonna... Whew. Yeah, got hot in here. Where's my fan? Love that for you. I've never seen anything from this creator before. They just came across my For You page this morning, and I just laid in bed as I was waking up listening to this and thinking, yeah, it took me a really long time too, and I am still realizing the parallels between content creation and just life. And throughout this last year, as I've been studying a lot too about history, and I'm studying neuroscience and education, and it's through my studying of this history that I had the realization that so many different disciplines out in the world that study history, they all study the same thing. They study the same events. But it's through the specific perspective of that field. Like if we take World War II, for example, how is it yesterday I was screaming in a tiger fit and now I'm saying, let's take World War II as an example? But no, if we take that as an example, all these different fields, philosophy, psychology, education, neuroscience, medicine, mental health, all of these different disciplines would be looking at that historic event, but analyzing a different perspective. Everything is just so connected and interrelated, and we know this, but I just keep forgetting. I've said before in videos, the way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. You know how sometimes we say things that we need to hear, or we say things that we want to believe, but you can't believe it until you say it a certain amount of times. The way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. And it continues to blow my mind, because as I'm getting better at being a creator and feeling less cringe about posting videos, like I post so many videos, I'm really happy and proud to announce that I almost have no cringe left. Yep. Shovel them out, girls. Sorry, Instagram, there's 7 reels today, but have you seen the schedule? It needs to go out today, because I'm not posting those in January, because then this is that. I've gained so much confidence being a creator, and it's improving my life outside of this studio as well, in so many different ways. It's so cool. He's gonna go on here to talk about being a creator and filming in front of a camera and things like that, and maybe that's what you're interested in, and that's great, and I'm glad you're here. But if you are interested in any kind of creative endeavor where you want to share something with other people for entertainment reasons, period, you can't really separate yourself from the art. We can't separate the art from the artist. Oh yeah, but we're not getting political today. Yeah, oh god, it's so interesting. I have so many things. Oh yeah, I'm concealing my brows now. This feels like we're on Detox, my podcast. But this is Dragmas. I don't know. I've been struggling to get myself to sit down in front of the camera to film this day, but so I motivated myself by talking about literally whatever I wanted. And that's part of this conversation too, isn't it? Ooh, but yes, actually, speaking about TikTok and content creation, because I'm not going to get really that much into the content creation side of things today, but if you're interested in hearing about my journey and specifically what I do and my schedule and all the ins and outs, the who's its and what's its, I do have an episode of D-Talk about content creation, and you can watch the video episode on YouTube or listen to it on Spotify. Okay, so we're at the point of the brows now. Stay with me, right? Is that way too close for my brows to be? So yeah, two things that I want to do differently with the brows today. I want to leave them connected like this to see if that's too close. I can always cover up the edges on the inner corners here if it looks like they're too close, but I want to give that a shot. But then also, usually I put powder foundation on top of this concealer before I do it, but I feel like that makes it really dry, obviously, because it's powder foundation. But I think if I leave it a little tacky, this brow application will go easier. Oh God, where am I gonna anchor it? There. All right. They don't look symmetrical, but they have to be. They came from the same page. This might be harder or it might be easier. And I wasn't ready with my wet baby wipe first. Oh God. Wait a minute. Do those look really good? They don't look actually all that too close. Again, they're not symmetrical, but when have they ever been? All right, so now I'm gonna go in and start cutting these brows out. Okay, so I have my brows cut. So the next step here is I'm going to prime the eyes and we're going to get into color. I'm really attempting the vibe of doing more with less. My first instinct whenever I am putting on makeup is always just throw it all on and see what happens, That's the least amount of primer I've ever put on my face, but we're going to give it a shot and we're going to see what happens. But let's go back to this man and watch the next minute.
But the biggest difference is that there's nobody around you when you record this content, which is why when you hit the big red button, you have no idea who the fuck you are. Because let's go back. The habitual self that you've been being is based upon the needs of others and whatever you perceive you're receiving from them in terms of stimuli and cues, right? But here I'm alone, right? I'm in my office. I'm standing on my standing fucking desk with my walking treadmill. What does all this add up to? Well, I'm Justin Schumann, human's in my last name, and I am here to teach you the inner and the outer work of being seen, of showing the fuck up in your own life. And I am telling you, mark my fucking words, you should be using direct-to-camera talking content, just like I am right now, to practice being yourself. Because since there's no one here to subconsciously, for my terrified, insecure, fight, flight, fawn, freeze body that's constantly in dysregulation, because who among us is not?
Yes. Here's my disclaimer for this as well. I don't know this man. I don't know if he's peddling an MLM course. I don't think he is, but I have not looked into that myself. But what he's saying here is so valuable and interesting to me. Like I said yesterday, I have been making videos for a decade. I love filming. I love talking in front of a camera. I love editing funny things together to send to friends. I've just always liked that. It's taken me a really long time to be able to be comfortable, not only posting it online, that's a whole thing, but to be able just to be here and to figure out who I am when I'm on camera. It's so weird, the disconnect that happens, like you said, when you hit that big red button. It's just wild. When I take breaks for filming Dragmas here, sometimes I go out into the rest of my apartment and go, have I even said anything that's good? Like, what is this? This is so... I'm not going to be able to post that video. I'm going to have to redo it almost every single time. And I felt it in the strongest way yesterday for the Tiger Drag episode. Then when I sat down and started to edit it together, it became my favorite one so far of the entire series. It's so interesting what happens when you hit that big red button. So I would really encourage you, take a video of yourself talking, because yeah, it's such an interesting way to find out more about who you are. That should be all of our goal, is to get to know ourselves as much as possible, because I know you're interesting. I know you're interesting. Everybody's interesting, but sometimes we lack the skills to be able to share that. And I definitely have, and this is what we're doing here. Justin Schulman, with human in the name. That's good. We love branding. Love branding. So I'm going to get taped up and we're going to start with our color. I haven't told you about the color palette, have I? It's burgundy. Burgundy. Love burgundy. If you don't get that joke and you just think I'm saying love burgundy. Let me put in the clip that that's from right now.
I'm not really like a huge pink fan. Love pink. Love pink. Love pink.
Feels like weird tape placement, but I think I'm gonna go with it. I think I know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm doing here. So there's gonna be 3 colors to this moment. We're going in first with a nice, you know, little dusty rose perhaps. So we have our base pinks in there. I feel like I should have set my brows with the powder before I went on for color, but we'll know that for next time. Now it's time for the nice dark burgundy to match what we're wearing today. So the base of the color is there. Now I'm gonna go in with a black liner. Okay, so now the tape comes off. Now I'm gonna clean up my edges. I'm liking how this looks. Let's finish up this video.
I'm not being a version of myself for anyone right now, except for me. And again, that's why when you hit the bigger button, you have no idea who to be because you've shown up for others in your own life for so goddamn long. If this video dragged you for filth a little bit and you're like, holy shit, I want to take up space in my life. I want to stop hiding. I want to find my personality again. Hit follow. I'm here teaching every single day. Free value. Ask anybody who's ever followed me before. I have no idea how you would do that, but say hello in the comments and I will tell you. People who have followed me before will tell you. I don't give up. I will never stop. I've been sharing this message for years. Before authenticity on social media was the buzzword of everything. I've been saying you don't need to niche down. I've been saying you are interesting, you're enough, you matter, and you might not believe that right now. Follow me for a little bit. I promise it'll be a lot easier to believe.
I just wanted to start today's video talking about that because I think about that kind of stuff a lot, especially like with the authenticity, because I find that it's harder to build a platform if you are not conservative, because being conservative on social media is on easy mode. Let's be honest. It's hard if you want to be, I don't really necessarily label myself as liberal, but I'm not conservative, so do whatever you will with that, is that it's easier to talk about actual things that have happened and events and current things like that than it is to talk about yourself. I feel like you presenting yourself as you is hard. It's hard to be a personality. And I've noticed that in my analytics across all the platforms. If it's something more personal, if it's something that's a personal story, it doesn't usually get as much of attention as something that more people know about. So I guess the challenge there is to get everybody to know you, right? But you have to do that and be comfortable with people not caring for an amount of time, because it's going to feel disingenuous. It will, especially if you're sitting down in front of a camera practicing that or trying that. Like, it's hard to feel like a real human. And then I try to be authentic, but then it's still somewhat manufactured. I am authentic right now, but at the end of the day, there's 5 lights, 6 lights on me. We got the mic here, that, like, there's a lot going on. So it's hard to find the balance of authenticity and manufactured authenticity and balance that with who are you? And if you don't know who you are, how do you bring that to the table? How do you feel comfortable bringing that to the table? There's so much. Being a creator is so wild. And I think maybe that's where I'm coming from today, is that I don't know. How did I even get here? But this is my best crack at authenticity, because I did not wake up this morning feeling like I was ready to strap on a tiger fit. Not that I would do that 2 days in a row, but you know, crazier things have happened. And it's not like the tiger version of myself isn't real or isn't reality, because it is. That was me authentically being a weirdo yesterday, right? Today I didn't feel like that, and I like being able to change it. And like he was saying in that video of like niching down and getting really specific and pigeonholing yourself into a certain type of content, in that it's a lot harder to do when your niche is you. And if I think about my branding, DT, that's me, David They pays to advertise. It's a lot more difficult to get people on board when it's a personality brand. That was the description of my podcast when it first came out just over a year ago. It's a personality brand, babes. So it's a lot harder to do that. And I think that's because we are used to getting specific things from specific people, because people get so specific with their creation, right? My intention and what I'm building here is a platform that I can create on and utilize for the rest of my life. I do have other things that I'm interested in. I'm a master's student right now in education. I have other interests. I've spent time in classrooms. I've spent so much time in universities. I have a drama degree, obviously, weaponizing my BFA. Nobody's surprised there. There's all these things that I'm interested in doing. And being a creator wasn't something that I necessarily saw explicitly for myself. I started regularly posting on Instagram a year ago, but I never saw it going in the direction of being full-blown YouTuber. And girl, I have 400 videos on YouTube right now? And there's so many different things with the podcast and the drag and the music and the dancing and the DJing. Yeah, DJ it on Spotify. You can listen to my comedy mixes, you know? And I don't want these profiles to grow unless it is authentically for the content that I have to offer. You know, the old adage, as it were, build it and they will come. Yeah, I don't care how long it takes for people to come and realize what I've got going on here, because I know that it's entertaining. I do. And if it's just entertaining to me, that's great. I'm having fun doing this. And that's really the motivation that you have to pay attention to. Are you doing things in your life because you think other people are going to like it? So when I'm in front of this camera and I censor myself from talking about my experience because I know that personality things and personal bits don't go as far as outlandish facts that maybe were made up, but we don't know, I'm gonna stop doing that. I was getting to this place of solely creating things for views. And that's not a bad thing. Like, you need to pay attention to the analytics. If you're a content creator, I get it. If I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this for me. That's the hard part, because I think a lot of creative people start doing those creative things because they want the confirmation that they're actually worthy, like he was saying in that video. And I think that's a really big piece of it. I grew up with zero self-esteem, on the floor. I hated myself for a really, really long time. So I do fully believe that a part of me showing up as a content creator is because I am proving to myself that I am worthy of being seen. That's hard. It's hard being seen. It really is. And the less you are seen, the more you crave to be so. But it almost creates this really sick and twisted juxtaposition where it becomes harder to be seen the more that you want it. Okay, now it's time for the concealer under the eyes, and we'll cut all of those creases, and I have a story to tell you. So 2 nights ago, I went to a drag show, and one of my favorite things to do when I'm at a drag show is in the beginning, when the performers are talking about the rules of a drag show, and they get to the point in the script where it's time to talk about tipping. If I'm in the audience, I will take a $5 bill out of my clutch, and I will go and I will give it to the performer as they are talking about tipping, right? I walk right up to the stage, and I like it because it does set a bit of a precedent for people who are around that aren't necessarily familiar with drag shows, that you can just walk right up to the stage and give these queens money. They love it. So with this show, I did exactly that. The performer was talking about how tipping is nice and appreciated, and I went up to the stage and gave them $5, and they were like, thank you so much. And on the mic, they said, give it up for David Day. And to the sound of people cheering for me, I cringed so hard. Not just mentally, I felt it on my face. I felt my face react to like, ugh. It was crazy. That really showed me there that working on being seen is still something that I'm working on. It's so hard to be seen. It wouldn't have been as surprising to me if it was a handful of years ago, or maybe even a few months ago. But it really stuck out to me because I thought, wow, after all this work I thought I did of being more comfortable with being seen, I cringed so hard when I knew that people were thinking about me and cheering. It just really stuck out to me. And then later, one of my friends that I was with had referenced that moment, and I responded with, oh, yikes. And again, I was like, David, people were cheering for you. That was a nice and lovely moment. Why are you so turned off by that? And that's part of it. Oh, God, it's terrifying being seen. And it's interesting that it's not the people on YouTube Shorts that leave comments that go, he's so gay. Like, those are funny. And also, yeah, you're right. And what? Boring. Actually, the hardest part for me of all of this has been dealing with my personal conceptions of myself. It's not the haters. It's not the haters, you know, for lack of a better word. Because there are some haters, and it's not the people that disagree with me respectfully. It's the people who are there to actually try and hurt your feelings. They don't hurt my feelings. Unfortunately, I can do that myself so much better than they can, and I do it regularly. That is what he was talking about in that video too, of practicing vlogging and maybe talking to a camera as practice for feeling seen. Because that's what I want. Ultimately, my goal, I guess I have 2 goals with my content creation. Well, maybe 3. God, this is getting complicated. My number 1 goal when I started creating content was to get comfortable in front of a camera, was to get comfortable knowing who I am and being able to deliver that at all times without feeling that cringe. And I'm not completely there yet because I'm still cringing at myself. And I mean, realistically, that will probably never go away, but here's hoping it does. And my second goal is to be entertaining. That's the next one too. I want people to be able to roll up on these videos and find them and go, oh my God, this is so entertaining. I need to watch them all. And I do want to make a difference, you know, the save the world moment. I do have a vested interest in helping disenfranchised folks. I do have such a deep passion for helping people who face discrimination for anything. I have a very deep developed sense of what's right and what's wrong, and things that are wrong really do bother me. That's part of suppressing who you are. If you feel like you can't be yourself, you lose your personality, and then the world is a more dull and boring place for capitalism to reign. And that's so dumb. So I do want to spend time making videos like my Dismantling Hate series, reacting to those outlandish people who think it's okay to say stuff like that, and not even just okay, but should be celebrated to be hateful to other people. I find that absolutely disgusting. And I want to be a part of breaking those voices down, even if it is in just small ways for some people. I did not think this video was gonna go like this today. I'm really far inside my head right now, if you can't tell. So I just did the bottom of my face. I don't remember what the last thing I said was. So I'm gonna powder the bottom half of my face, and then we are going to do the stones. Okay, so the stones are in and they are set. Now I'm going to do the top of the forehead. Okay, babies, to be completely effing honest with you right now, I disassociated for a lot of the makeup application today. So I thank you for staying with me. Now I am going to return back to the scene of the crime. If you remember yesterday, this spray did me dirty. I'm already coughing. I haven't even used it yet. That's not a good sign. I'm going to spray my face with this. I'm going to put on the rest of my drag, and then I do have a final message for you. Today's a different one, and I'm happy for all the vibes. You know, I'm here. Let's try this. It's going to be better. Let's manifest it looking better together right now. You ready? Okay, we did it. Because I have the one size spray that removes your makeup and they feel the exact same. So I panicked there for a brief moment. But I'm going to let it dry as I do the rest of my stuff. So we will be right back. All right, babies, here we are with the final and completed look for Dragmas Day 8. I really love how it came out. You know, I'm not too fussed about how close my eyebrows are together there. I think it really works. I thank you for getting to the end of this video, and I thought a lot about how I wanted to wrap this up. This episode of Dragmas has felt a little bit different, and I think I have figured out why, and I'd like to share that with you. I didn't realize that I was overworking myself to the extent that I think I am. You know, I've always been a bit of a workaholic, you know, as it were. I just like to keep going. I like to keep going. I like to get things done, and I like to move on to the next goal. Yes, thank you, God, and just keep it pushing. Right? And that's not really the important part, but it helped me take a step back. And yesterday, I decided that I was going to ignore my very long to-do list, which would have in fact been this video here that you're watching right now. And I told myself that I wasn't going to be on a screen all day. It was so hard not to be on a screen. It was incredibly hard not to be on a screen. I gotta be honest, but it also was very beautiful. And it got me thinking about my last year and a half of content creation here, in that I have actually not taken a day off. Now, of course, I've had days where I've done fun things. I've traveled throughout the majority of the United States. I've been out hiking and had those days, but there has always been at least a handful of hours of time where I am working, and I didn't realize that I wasn't giving myself days to chill. And in taking that full day off yesterday, I was I was struck by the startling realization that I think I lost my motive a little bit within all of my content creation here, because time goes fast and you can wake up and look at your surroundings and really think, how did I get here? Like I mentioned before, I have been attempting to take me and myself and my personality out of my content really as much as possible. And I think I lost my personality a little bit. When I was painting my face today, I didn't feel like myself. I was a little bit scared to feel myself without my personality, because my personality is what I have to bring to the table. It's the only thing that's interesting really about me. Sure, I'm smart and know all this stuff and have built this and done that and this degree and that degree and whatever. Cool, awesome. Other people can have those things. Nobody has me. Nobody has specifically my point of view. And I want to say this to you right now, because our world is built in such a way to suppress that individuality from you as a person. So if you are a creative person who is out here trying to follow those dreams, put you in it. You are so worthy of being seen. And it takes so long to be able to get yourself to a spot to be comfortable being seen. Like I explained earlier, I'm not completely there yet either. But if it is something that is important to you, I want you to know you can get it. You can get there. I'm very close. I'm very close, and I still even had a stumble, right? So, but you know, throughout all that dysfunction, I still turned out a gorgeous and stunning woman. Don't even have me. I'm never gluing a Dragmas wig down. I think I've decided that's going to be the theme. I love a red hair. I love a red hair. I love burgundy. But yeah, dolls, thank you so much for watching and getting to the end of day 8 of Dragmas. I know it's been a different one today, but I appreciate you being here. Tomorrow is going to be day 9. We're getting so close to Christmas. Good Lord. Anyway, if you made it this far, you should put an eggplant emoji in the comments, because eggplant. It's the color, and for no other reason. Subscribe to my channel if you're interested in doing that. Like the video if you like the video. Tell me anything else you want to in the comments. Honestly, I'd love to know. Thanks again for being here, and I will see you here tomorrow for Dragmas Day 9. And until then, goodbye. Guys, turns out I wasn't depressed. I just needed to put on a red wig.